What's up guys, welcome to another video at Movement Mechanics and welcome to another video at the top 4 exercise series. And today we are going to talk about one of the most injury prone muscle group, the rotator cuffs. Now, the rotator cuffs are the most important cuffs for the shoulder joint. These are the most injury prone muscle groups when we talk about fast bowlers like Jasprit, Bumrah, or when we talk about throwers like Neeraj Chopra, or when we talk about elite powerlifters like Eddie Hall, who are going to do like 200-300 kgs of bench presses. Now at that time the rotator cuff is going to be under immense pressure, and a tear at the rotator cuff can be very common injury when we are talking about heavy lifts. So in order to prevent these kind of injuries and in order to strengthen the rotator cuff, this video is made for you. So let's dive deep inside this topic and understand some movement mechanics. Alright, as per the traditions of this video series, we are going to understand some anatomy for the rotator cuff and then the top 4 exercises which are going to help you strengthen the rotator cuffs. Alright, so the rotator cuff are for two joints. One is the hip joint and one is the shoulder joint. We are going to talk about the shoulder joint rotator cuff because these are the famous muscle groups for injuries, and these are the most underlooked muscle groups as well when we are talking about strengthening of small muscles. Now, the rotator cuff is responsible for stabilization of the shoulder joint whenever you are doing any kind of activity which involves the shoulder joint. And the rotator cuff is comprised of 4 muscle groups which are known as the SITS muscle group, SITS, the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the teres minor, and the subscapularis. Out of this, the supraspinatus acts as an abductor of the humerus and also stabilizer of the shoulder joint. The infraspinatus acts as the external rotator and the extensor of the humerus as well as the stabilization of the shoulder joint. The teres minor acts as the external rotation of the humerus, and finally the subscapularis acts as an adductor of the humerus. Now, these muscles aren't prominent muscle group which are going to do adduction or external rotation. That is done with the help of deltoids, but these muscle groups are going to help those deltoids in order to do external rotation or adduction or abduction. But the main part of the rotator cuff is stabilization of that shoulder joint. Now all these muscle groups act as stabilizers primarily, and then these muscle actions are secondary. The external rotation or the abduction or the adduction is the secondary muscle action of the rotator cuff. The primary muscle action has to be stabilization. So the first exercise which we are going to look today is the seated external rotation with the dumbbell. Now this exercise is going to target your infraspinatus and your teres minor, as there is external rotation happening. Now this exercise you have to be very firm that your elbow is touching your thigh or any foam pad which you have kept the thigh, and it has to be stable over here. It shouldn't move, and your action should just happen with the help of your infraspinatus, your supraspinatus, as well as your posterior deltoid. Now the posterior deltoid is going to get contributed over here because there is external rotation going on, and of course when there is external rotation the posterior deltoid has to contribute, but the main contributors or the main targets here are the infraspinatus and the teres minor muscle groups. Secondly, I am going to give you an isometric exercise, which is an isometric external rotation hold with the band or with a cable. Now this exercise has to be done with a very heavy band or with a very heavy cable because the exercise is not dynamic, but it is an isometric exercise, so that in order to engage the muscles involved in this exercise you need to have lots of resistance. So whenever there is lots of resistance in these kind of exercises, especially the isometric exercises, the activation of the engaged muscle group is at a higher level, and hence you get maximum benefits with the isometrics. The role of the subscapularis, which is at the interior part of the scapula, is adduction. That means the arm is coming towards the midline. So in order to engage the subscapularis, of course we have to do normal adduction. By doing a simple adduction with a band or a cable, that subscapularis is going to get engaged and the muscle is going to fire appropriately whenever it needs to fire. Now the subscapularis plays an important part in order not only the stabilization of the humerus, but also in order to stabilize the scapula as well. So you need to have good and healthy subscapularis, especially for fast bowlers. The subscapularis is the most injured muscle because it does adduction, and when we talk about fast bowling, adduction is an important part of biomechanics as a fast bowler. The best way to strengthen your rotator cuff is working in ABR, which is abduction and external rotation. So when we talk about ABR, which is abduction and external rotation, the best way to do is a band pull in this position itself. So whenever you are doing a band pull in ABR, all the rotator cuff muscle groups are engaged over here except the subscapularis, because that does adduction and not external rotation and abduction. So A banded external or cable external rotation in abr position is the best exercise for engaging your external rotators and abductors of the rotator cuff muscle group, which is your infraspinators, your teres minor, and your supraspinators. If you're a power lifter like Eddie Hall or Branch, or a fast bowler like Jasprit Bumrah, then you need to have strong rotator cuff muscle group, and these 4 exercises are the best way in order to engage the rotator cuff muscle group. So if you have loved this video, make sure to like, the share, the subscribe, as well as the notification bell icon, so that you never miss a video whenever I'm uploading a new one. Also, if you have got any doubts or comments regarding this video or any other video suggestions which you want to cover in the future, make sure to drop that in the comment section. Alright guys, see you in the next one.